Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Artcasters number 210, and this is going to be our year-end wrap-up. So this should be fun. We got Corey back on again. He was with us probably not last. Did we skip? No, we didn't skip, did we? I don't think we did skip. So he was on last week, but since he's sort of the unofficial or official third member of the Artcasters, we decided to have him on since we're doing our wrap up, and we kind of had some technical difficulties. I set up the broadcast, and I accidentally clicked to go live before it was supposed to, so I had to cancel that. So hopefully people will find this. There's no one in the chat yet, but hopefully you guys will find me and you're not going to that other video because it doesn't exist because I deleted it. So anyway, I guess we'll kind of quickly go around the table for anyone who doesn't know who we are. So I guess I'll go to Josh. Well, first I'll introduce myself. You're on my channel, so you probably know who I am. Nothing really to promote right now. We got Ronnie in the chat. Hey, Ronnie. So Josh, how's it going? Where can people find you?
It's going good. People can find me at quarterlystories.com, which will take you right to my comic about faith and mental illness that I'm working on the inks for while we talk. You can also check out my artwork at joshuakemble.com and find me on YouTube by looking for Joshua Kemble, and that's Kemble with a K. I always forget to mention that to people. So, yeah.
All right. And so Corey's on vacation, but he decided he was gonna find a way to join us anyway. So how's it going, Corey?
Good. Yeah, going well.
And you're in my state. It sounds like a little further away in my state, but you're here nonetheless.
Just barely. I'm in the snow-covered part of your state.
Yeah.
There was a snow-covered part of your state. We're up at a family reunion, so we've got my parents, and then all three of my siblings and their spouses and all of their kids. And I think I counted 14 kids under 10.
Wow.
We're all in the same house right now, so it's fun.
So Corey's trying to be a little quiet. He said he might have to mute a couple times if it gets loud over there. So, all right. I don't know. You guys have a pretty good Christmas and everything. Everything went all right.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it's been nice. We've it's fun to have everybody together. We live kind of all over the place, and so we don't all get together often. So it's been fun to have everybody together. That's been a nice thing, and yeah, it's been good.
And so, Josh, you got another little bit of snow over there in Southern California for Christmas.
It's very confusing. I feel like they should reduce the cost of mortgages and rent anytime it gets really freezing, because it's like, hey, we don't live in Southern California for the cold. But yeah, we got like a white day after Christmas, which is kind of nice. It's fun. Ben's been really enjoying it. He was kind of freaked out this morning to wake up and see all this awesome snow. And then we, had a really good, holiday with family, and the kids really enjoyed like opening presents and getting new toys and all sorts of stuff. So that was really neat.
Yeah. My Christmas was kind of laid back. I didn't do much on Christmas. I went over for dinner. I went over family, but our big thing was on Christmas Eve. So we did that all over here at the house and everything, and it was pretty good. It went pretty well. So because it is Christmas, that also means it is December, and it's about time to wrap up this year, 2019, which not only is the end of the year, but the end of the decade. I don't think we will have to go back and go through our decade, but I did kind of want to go through our year, because I think each of us had sort of, I know we accomplished a lot there. Obviously I know with me, there were some challenges and some different things. And it's been kind of quite a year for me, and I assume for you guys too, but I think I wanted to kick it off with something that, something we all three of us accomplished that we kind of did together as a collaboration, and that was earlier on in the year. We started on our stories for the 100 Days of Maine Comics anthology, number 2, the Werewolves and Unicorns anthology and other mythical creatures, and so we all completed that. So we've got that under our belt. So what do you guys? What are your thoughts on that? I know it was for somebody like Josh who's got this long running book that he's been working on. I'm sure we'll get into that as an accomplishment when we get Josh some time to speak. But kind of had to take a little break from that. But I don't know, was it worth it, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, what's weird is I've done anthologies before, and I'm usually pretty hesitant to do anthologies because if you want to do long form comics, you can end up in this cycle of just doing short anthologies,
Mm-hmm.
and it can kind of pull away from your productivity. But because it was the guys from the hundreds, and they're just such a unique and awesome group of people, and then so like you being in it, and Mike being in it, and Corey being in it, it's like I feel like kind of because of the people and a million other people who were awesome who were in it, it's like it would have felt weird not being in it.
Yeah.
And I remember the first book when it came out. At the time, I hadn't really taken the hundreds challenge because I was like, well, I'm doing comics, 30 minutes every day anyway. So what's the point, kind of that sort of attitude. And then I, of course, did that challenge and realized like how hard it is to do a daily video.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely worthwhile. It's so cool. And I'm really proud of that book. I think Mike did an amazing job, like editing and wrangling everybody and putting together like the phony, like letters section at the end. And, yeah, it's a book I feel proud of. And I'm glad I did a short story about my kid because it's something he is kind of pumped about. And he liked reading. And so, and then of course, when he's older, I can kind of go like, hey, this is like about you when you were 5, which is kind of neat. So overall, yeah, it was definitely a good experience. It was nice to exercise those muscles and like remember that I can start and finish something fairly quickly. Because it's like I've just been knee deep in this thing for years. And so anytime I have an opportunity to do that, yeah. But overall, I really I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the camaraderie of like promoting it with everybody, and just the hundreds community in general. I think is so awesome, and I feel like everybody brought their A game to it. So yeah.
Yeah.
What about?
So I was gonna, because I wanted to kind of say, Corey, I want to know what your takeaway was, and not only just the artwork, but you also created a video for that. And I don't know if that was the kind of and we can get into that later, but I mean, I don't know if that was kind of the sort of the start of all this animation and all this stuff you're doing, or if you were doing it before. I'm not exactly sure where the timeline was, but I'm sure that's a big part of your 2019 with the animation and all that stuff. But before we get into that, what was your kind of takeaway from your experience with the 100 Days Make Comics anthology?
It was great. I mean, I think that's the first comic I finished because I started a long form one that ended up being hundreds of pages, and I got 60 pages into it, and I had to kind of abandon that for a number of reasons. And so it was nice to start and finish a story. It was, I tend to be really long-winded, and I tend to be really long form in most things that I do. And so it was also really interesting to compress the story. And I know you guys have been teasing me because I once again started with my story was this giant, epic, expansive world building, ridiculous thing. And then I had to compress it down. I thought I had to compress it down to 6 pages.
Yeah.
And so I did. And then I compressed it down to 4 pages. And that was interesting. It was interesting to be able to do that. And I still feel like I'm still pretty proud of being able to fit so much story into such a small space without having to make it feel rushed. I hope at least the pacing feel rushed. But I tried to I watched Legend of the Sword several times to try to get that Guy Ritchie montage pacing that he does, and so the two middle pages are kind of montage like, or however you can get montages into a still image rather than a movie. So that was fun. I enjoyed doing it. Same as Josh. It was really fun to kind of be involved. I love that community, and it was fun to be involved. I technically haven't done the 100 Days of Making Comics because I did 100 Days of Animation. Because when Kevin Cross was first doing it, he was talking about, you could do whatever you want. You could do, and he listed a bunch of things. Just do 100 days, whatever. And so at the time, I wanted to learn animation, so I did that. So I'm kind of like the distant cousin in that community. That I've done the challenge, but mine was. It was still illustration based, but mine was illustration for animation rather than illustration for comic. But I like that. I like being in the book. It was cool to hand my daughter a book that I'm in, and I've self-published, on a very small scale, but this one for some reason to her felt real. So she was like, "Dad, you're in a real book." I've been in real books before. She's like, "No, but this is like a real one that somebody else did." So for her, that was a big deal. That was kind of fun.
That's cool. Yeah, we got Abe in the chat, who was also in the anthology, and he says, "First comic completed for me on top of learning Clip Studio. It was a great milestone and a learning experience." And that's pretty much. I was going to bring that up myself because that was one of my kind of achievements this year was. I guess say learning Clip Studio, even though I've only scratched the surface of it, but I did, as far as the penciling and everything and all the layout and the perspective and all that kind of stuff, I did all that in Clip Studio, and then I printed out my files, and then I inked traditionally because I still like that traditional inking. Although now I've been doing a lot of inking in Clip Studio, I really like it. And if I hadn't already traditionally inked like Young and the Dead, I would probably do those comics digital. But yeah, I'm really digging Clip Studio. But that was something. I mean, you could go back on my channel, you could hear me talk about, I got to learn Clip Studio, and going back whatever, or back when it was Manga Studio or whatever. I was constantly saying that I had to do that, and then I would say like, well, the problem is it's going to take me longer to learn it than it is to just, the extra time that I would save by doing it digitally, that learning. And I kept fighting it, and finally this time around, I dove into it, and man, I'm so happy I did. I mean, that's just one of those things that, I just kept putting off, and finally I got to do that. So that was I guess that was my big takeaway as far as, my work on the anthology was like Josh, it was a different story. I mean, I've been working on Young and the Dead forever, so it's kind of nice to sort of take a break and kind of stretch my muscles, because I did some things in that book that, because with Young and the Dead, it's all about kind of basically this. I kind of created a style that was a little looser, a little, flows a little more, but very, it's basically, the pencils are very loose, and most of it's, is finished in the inking stage, just so I can get those books out and everything. But this one, I kind of stepped back, and I really spent a lot of time trying to get everything right. And because it was only a 4-page story, I could sort of afford to do that, where I can't really do that with the long running story. So yeah, I mean, that was great, and I was honored that I got a chance to not only do the story but the cover and write the foreword and all that. So it's something I'm very, I'm attached to. So and what's cool is, I mean, I still get some orders and stuff for it, and I've had people, that there was a kid who I was going back and forth with him, because I think he was in the UK and he wanted to order a copy, and trying to figure out, how to save, money, because the shipping and everything. I'm saying, well, I can't really do that. I can throw some extras in. So I was going back and forth with him, and finally I just said, I can turn you over. I can turn you over to somebody who's in the UK that can ship you a copy probably for less. And then after that, he sent me an order because I guess he wanted me to sign it. So that was kind of cool.
Oh.
But yeah, it was a great experience, and having taken that challenge, and I don't know. I mean, one of my, just a little, I guess preview into the future. I'm looking to get back to doing Young and the Dead, and I don't know if I'll do the. I definitely want to take the challenge. Whether I do the videos, I don't know, because I've got a whole other series that's coming out. But um, I'll do some kind of updates, whether it's weekly or even just here or there or whatever, just to update people on my progress. But I definitely want to do the spirit of that, where I'm doing at least 30 minutes a day, and get started on the the next issue or two of Young and the Dead. So that's cool. That's anything. We got a lot of people in the chat, so I just want to, I guess, say hi. We've got Abe, we got Ronnie, we got Art Chemist, we've got Galen, Keeman. So hey everyone, how's it going? So is there anything else on the anthology before we move on to some other things that you guys wanted to touch on that we missed?
No, I mean, I'd just say the cover is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
The cover that you just got.
Fun.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. Was there something you said, Corey?
You had mentioned the movie that I did for that.
Yeah. And we can start with that and kind of go into some of your accomplishments with animation too. So
yeah, I with that one, it wasn't the first animation I had done. I had done some with Josh. I've done some
that's right.
on my own and everything. I'd done quite a few, but typically I had done those either raster or vector. So it was illustration and design. And so that one, I kind of intentionally wanted to showcase a range. And so I used, kind of the old Monty Python style animation and some of that stuff. And I cut up images. So I went to Unsplash and things like that. And I got Creative Commons Zero images that weren't copyrighted. And I cut those up basically to show that I can do mixed media. And so the majority of the moving parts in that Kickstarter video that I did were images that I cut out in Photoshop, and then I animated those and did that stuff. And then when the monster hands would come in, those I did more in my traditional animation style. And so anyway, it was interesting. The most difficult part about that was actually editing the videos, because I wanted to make sure everybody got in. There's 33 or 34 creators, and I wanted to make sure that everybody who wanted to be represented was represented, and that took weeks of editing. I mean, I didn't quite know what I was signing up for. I knew the idea was a good idea, because of what it said from a marketing standpoint about the book. Not just have one or two people talking, but it was long. And I will continue to tease Mike till my dying day, because most people sent like a 4 to 10 minute video. His video was over 25 minutes. And so editing that was crazy. And then Gaz, it was hard to edit Gaz because
he doesn't take a breath.
Second of video was gold. I mean, that guy is just a genius when it comes to, kind of off the cuff ad lib, high energy stuff. He's doing sound effects, and anyway.
I miss his comic videos. I know he's got a kid now and everything. He's kind of preoccupied, and he does the Power Rangers video, but I'm not the huge Power Ranger fan, so I wish he'd do some more comic stuff.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, so the editing was tough, but that was fun. That took me way longer than I thought it would. I think it was almost a full month. I think at least 3 weeks. And it about killed my computer. I had to double my RAM, because because of some of the effects that I was doing on the television to make it look old. And then I had added, that was for animation the first time that I had used 3D lighting and After Effects in the Z Space scenario. So I was familiar with doing 2.5D animation, but I hadn't done lighting in that scenario yet, and that made a huge difference in
Yeah.
that video. I should probably go through and do some videos and show some like before and after, like here's with lighting and here's without, because it looked terrible without the lighting. So yeah, that was a fun project. I liked that. That was a good one.
So did you want to get into some of the other animation you do while we're talking about animation, or do you want to get into that later?
I mean, I've done a ton of animations. Well, not a ton. I've gotten more into animation since then. One of the things that I wanted to talk about that was kind of an accomplishment this year is I had used a plugin called Rubber Hose before from Battle Axe. But I got really proficient at it this time, and I did that on a project that Scott hired me for, and that was really fun. And then I also completely learned from scratch another one called Joysticks and Sliders, and that has been a massive game changer for me. Joysticks and Sliders is, I mean, it was very difficult to get right, because I was going off of your design of your character, which was not necessarily designed with animation in mind, and so there were a lot of challenges to overcome in rigging that character. I probably rigged the head of that character, probably rigged that head 25 times before I got it right. But then once I got it the way that I wanted it, that plugin was so fluid. And now, because of that project and because of learning those two plugins really well, I'm probably 5 times as fast as I was before. Just I can execute things significantly faster because once I know those two tools, they're huge time savers, really big time savers. So learning Joysticks and Sliders, doing that newsy animation, that was a really big deal. I really liked doing that. I had a lot of fun. At the time, I know I kept saying that it didn't pay that well, but I'm actually looking back and I think it was pretty good.
I think just because the amount of time I think you probably spent a lot of extra time on it. But
yeah, I think if I were to do that today, I think I could do it in about 20% of the time that it took me.
Yeah, and even though you may not got paid as much for the amount of time you spent, it's nice to be able to get paid to learn too. In some way, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and so I really that's a huge highlight of my year. I think is that project. I really liked that project, and I came away from that project significantly better. I landed in the fourth quarter of this year. I landed a project that added some zeros to what I got paid on that project. Literally, 10 times more. 10 times more, about 10 to 15 times more. And it was all because of that project. And so I getting paid to learn is awesome, but also I think what I got paid on that project, had I already known what I was doing, would have been good. Would have been really good, because I'm so much faster now because of it. So if I were to do something like that again, I'd probably charge a similar rate.
Yeah, and just so everyone knows, Corey is the one that we didn't like try to get him to lower the price. He gave us the price. That's the price he gave us. So.
Yeah, and it's one of those beginner mistakes where I overestimated my ability to learn quickly and underestimated the project, and I'm pretty good at illustration bidding now, and this year I've gotten good at animation bidding because of a couple projects like that where I kind of underestimated the project. You don't really know what you're getting into until you screw something up 27 times. And then you're like, well, I know all the different ways that this can go wrong. So I don't have to go down those roads anymore. But now I know if I do it right, it's going to take me X amount of time. And so like, based on that project too, I also gained the ability to kind of bid those type of projects more accurately. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, Scott didn't come to me and say, "Hey, you're a friend. I'm gonna tighten the screws here." You know, he was like, charge me an industry rate. You know, charge me what you would normally charge anybody else, and you know, give me a bid, and we'll do it. And yeah, that's what we did. So it was good. I liked that. That was a really good project. If we're still going on animation, I took that and I decided that I really wanted to. I had when I was doing the 100 Days of Animation a couple of years ago, I have a storyboard and pieces of an animatic for an animated short. And it's a really complicated animated short. And at the time, because I didn't know these two plugins at the time, it took me 100 days to animate probably about 4 seconds of that. You know, I was learning the software. But I figured that was about a 3-year project to do that short correctly. And so at the end of the 100 days, I kind of wrapped what I could wrap. I kind of got it in a spot where I could shelf it without losing anything. But I really wanted to do an animated short that I could start and finish in between semesters. And so that was where I did Put Your Heart Into It, which is the one that I've been talking a lot recently because I've been trying to focus on promotion, which is something I'm really bad at. I was talking to Jim Lujan earlier today on Facebook, and he's doing the same thing. Anyway, he started shopping around some things that he's made, and so I set up that animation, and I wrote it intentionally to do some things. I've been to some conferences where they talked about animation. So guys from Nickelodeon, guys from Adult Swim, Titmouse. There's a guy, Mike Roush, who's like my animation hero. And one of the things that they said was animation, especially animation for television. You know, the secret is reuse, reuse, reuse. You know, you make something and you make it in a way that you can reuse it often without it becoming repetitive. And so I learned how to create assets in a way that can be used in a bunch of different scenes without them, you know, feeling like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon. And so I wanted to make a short, and so I designed this short. I wanted to make it about a minute to 2 minutes long. It ended up being 2.5 minutes, and I wanted to do it during the break, and I did that during the break. It took 4 weeks, and I worked on it quite a bit, and I nailed it. And then I ran it by my animation mentor, Steve Leeper, and he tore it to shreds. The camera work was awful. The character animations. He's like, as always, your illustrations look great, but everything is moving weird. So then I had a choice to make. Is my arbitrary deadline, self-imposed deadline, more important than a quality project? Because I wanted to say I made this in a month, and I said, you know what, I'm going to spend some extra time. So I started over, and then I took an extra 2 weeks to redo everything, and so I redid it. So ultimately, the whole thing took me 6 weeks. It took a couple weeks into the semester. And then I started shopping it around, and that's been a fascinating experience because I'm so young in art in general. You know, I'm long in the tooth in like design and video and stuff like that. But art, I'm new, within the last 5 years. So I guess 6 years now. But I haven't shipped a lot of stuff because a lot of it has been learning. And so this one, I was like, I want to finish something, and I just want to see what my market value is. And so I shopped it around to, I think I ended up submitting to 87 film festivals. I think about 22 of them have come back, and I'm in about half of those. I've won 3 awards. I'm official selection, I think 11 times. A couple finalists and semifinalists. That's just weird, and it's still weird to talk about, weird to say out loud, weird to, I don't know. Feels I was raised not to brag, like, and so it feels strange. But I mean it's market tested to a certain extent and is having some success. I mean I didn't win like Sundance or anything, but they're film festivals and there's people that have seen it in London and Slovakia and Florence and Rome and New York, and so it's cool. It's kind of fun. And then after that, I started doing kind of micro animations, what I'm calling Instagram projects. And just in the past couple months, I've made 3 or 4 of those. And so as far as animation goes, there's that. And then I have a couple client projects outside of the one that I did for Scott that I'm doing on the side that are animation based. And so this year will be probably the biggest year I've had freelance. I'm trying to think if that's true. At least the biggest year I've had freelance since 2007. But I think I might have passed 2007. So that animation, I think, it was kind of a hunch, and I think it's starting to really pay off. And so anyway, getting recognized financially and getting recognized, by juries is something that has happened this year. So that's been good.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much it on the animation side.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty big accomplishment. Just basically, I mean, even if it was just the animation alone, I think all of us accomplished some major things. I mean, that's a big one. I know for me.
Josh, did we do that that animation last year or this year?
I think it was this year, and I have this. We got to talk about what we're going to do with it, because I'm kind of thinking maybe we should do a similar thing.
Yeah.
Just throw it into little festivals just for the hell of it.
We should. That'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
So Josh and I. Do you want to talk about that one?
Yeah. So that was like it's funny. I've been freelancing for so long that this client kind of came. I had a gut feeling like, man, maybe this won't work out. But they were working on a documentary. I don't know how much I want to reveal about it yet, but a documentary about a famous comedian. And we did a short animated sequence as like a pitch of like, this is what, our animations would look like for your project. And it was a legit like documentary, a legit filmmaker who's made stuff that's been on Netflix and stuff before. So we took a gamble, and then of course my gut was right, because at the end the client just basically was like, well, we just kind of want to use this. And I was like, well, we want to be paid for our work. And so then they just kind of dropped off the face of the map, and I deleted their contact and was like, lesson learned, don't do that again. But it was a fun collaboration, and Corey and I think work really well together in that context. And I do think the nice thing is most of what we used to make it was in the public domain. So we might have that resurface at some point, just for the heck of it. So that was a fun project. But definitely one of those, like, I think once every 6 years or so, I usually have to kind of make that mistake of being like, yeah, I'll do spec work. And then I'm like, that's why I don't do spec. But yeah, I thought it came out really well and was really
to let everybody
quite
know,
impressive.
Without talking about the subject, the workflow is interesting because it was another experiment for me. I was interested in doing it because, Josh and I haven't known each other for that long, but it feels like we've known each other for decades because we've literally spent hours talking to each other on the 48-hour art show. I mean, if you add up the hours that we spent in the, close to 200 episodes that we've done in the last year and a half, 2 years or whatever, we've probably spent 300 or 400 hours talking to each other about our work, I don't even know people that are married that have necessarily spent that much time in 2 years talking to their spouse.
Yeah.
And so I was really interested in working and collaborating, because I'm kind of new to all of this and I haven't done a lot of collaboration, and I do have a problem where I want, on the projects that I make, I want everything to be mine. And I was like, that's good for a lot of things, but like sometimes you should let go a little bit and stop being such a control freak. And so it was really interesting because Josh is a great illustrator and I love his illustration, but it's different than mine. And so I was like really excited to see how that would work, that workflow. And so Josh did all of the assets. He created all the assets, did all the visuals for it. And then I did the rigging and the animation, the camera movement. And then I think we collaborated on the sound, but yeah, it was great. It was a really interesting workflow. And because we had an actual deadline to try to get it back to this guy, we, kind of pulled a little bit of a couple late nighters in a row and just blocked out like a weekend. And I was sending him messages. Now I need you to draw something that looks like this. And I give him some crappy Photoshop sketch. And then I'd go back to doing something else. And then I'd turn around, 30 minutes later, and here's this asset that I didn't. And it was really a nice workflow because something like that would have taken me, I think we did it in 2 weeks, which is an insane thing because we both have full-time jobs. So we did it in 2 weeks. I think it probably would have taken me 6 if I were to just do it by myself. Maybe 4.
Oh yeah. I mean, that was interesting, the collaborative part, because it does cut down a lot of the production time, having a bit of a team, Yeah.
And it felt magic to me. Like I would just like send a request out into the air and then it would come back done. And I didn't have to do any of that work. It was amazing. So that was cool too. That's something we haven't showed publicly, and Josh and I need to talk and figure out what we want to do with that. But that's another thing. I wasn't certain whether we did that this year or not. But so as far as animation goes, this year for me has been interesting because I started on vector animation. I went to raster animation, both kind of puppet. And then I tried out not making any of the assets and having Josh make them. Then I did some paid work where I learned how to rig things with these 2 different plugins. Then I did some more paid work, and then I did my own animated short using those plugins that I learned in that first paid work with Scott, which is also a really cool situation because I had done that dry run with Josh, and then with Scott, I could say, we figured out this is the best way to do it. And so I think it probably saved Scott a lot of time because I think Josh had to redo stuff probably more than he should have if I had known what I was doing at the time. And so it's all been building. It's really interesting. And so now my goal this year was to have a 3rd section in my website to showcase, like, look at all of these different visual styles that I can animate. And so I can work collaboratively. I can do vector. I can do raster. I can do flat. I can do 2.5D. I can do lit. I can do cartoony. And then I just thought it would be interesting to see how that shop around. So from an animation perspective, it's been a phenomenal year for me. That's been
fun. It's been cool to see it's been cool to see the growth. Just like watching it kind of from the sidelines a bit. It's been cool to see the evolution of the process and how kind of streamlined it is now. Compared to like before where it was a little haphazard and it still looked great, but it would just, I don't think you had the method as pat down as you do now. And now you have it to where you're always trying new things, but it's fascinating to see like how slick and how you're getting subtle things like squash and stretch more in there, and some really like high-end looking stuff. And I feel like that project you did with Scott was like a major leveling up, where it was like a lot of that looked traditional, or like maybe it was like 3D and like all of it was in After Effects. It was just really incredible. It's been fun to see, you know.
Yeah, as far as Corey had talked about his, just the amount of freelance and everything that he did this year being one of his best freelance year. And for me, this is the first year in a long time that I was pretty much solely either freelance or freelance / personal projects. And I've just that's just been a huge. I've just been enjoying the ability to do that. And I'm hoping that'll continue. Right now, I'm kind of in this point where, like one of my bigger clients, which I hate to say I put all my eggs in one basket because I didn't really. I've been starting to launch some of this other stuff too, but it's still got a ways to take off. So, but that particular client is kind of reassessing what he's going to do. So hopefully everything will continue on because I want to keep doing this because it's given me the opportunity to, to do these projects with Corey and my own projects and all these different things. But yeah, it's been a while since I've been solely freelance and everything like that. And I've just got so much. There's so many things I accomplished this year. I just to go back to comics, I launched the Patreon, I did that too. I'll get to that in a minute. But I launched a Kickstarter for Young and the Dead issue 4. And there were some, with every year, there's some ups and downs. I kind of ran into some issues with Facebook, thinking that my my because of the title Young and the Dead, that it was somehow like harmful to children or whatever. And that happened on my first day of launch, which is like the crucial day. And so all my promotions with the previous Facebook or the previous Kickstarter I ran, most of my traffic came from Facebook. So not having that kind of, it affected the campaign, but nevertheless, I got it funded and everything. So that was cool. Like I mentioned, one of the, there's just a lot of things that I've been wanting to do that I finally was able to accomplish. Like the Patreon is one. I've been talking about doing that forever. There was an episode way back when it was me, when the Artcasters was myself and Kevin Cross and Jeff Lafferty. Those two were getting on me about, because they both have Patreons, and they were getting on to me about, you got to start a Patreon. I said, okay, I'll get it. But it took, and that's been a while because it's been me and Josh and a guest for a while. So way back then, I said, yeah, I got to do that. And so I finally launched that thing. And part of the reason for that was I joined a mastermind group, which is another really cool thing that I'm glad I did this year, with just some other really awesome creatives. And yeah, I'm hoping I can get back to doing that mastermind. I kind of took a break from it, but that was really, really helpful. For me, just because we do the whole, I'm sort of semi-involved in like a part-timer on the 48-hour art check, and because I do check in with you guys and do stuff like that, the whole, and I'm pretty good about, keeping on top of things. So the whole holding myself accountable is not a problem, but just the feedback and everything I got. But one of the things that, I did say that I wanted to do, and they got on me, and finally I just launched it. It wasn't that difficult, was that Patreon. So that was, that was something that I've been wanting to do for a while that I finally got around to doing. Another one was my email list. I've been talking about wanting to do that forever, and I waited way too long to do that. Same thing with the Patreon. If I would have launched those things sooner, they would have been, they would have had time to mature, and who knows where they'd be right now. But at least I finally launched it. So I got the mailing list going now, and also in order to kind of to get people to join that mailing list, I created my first digital product, which was the free product, the Comic Maker Starter Kit. And then after that, I created.
Wait. How much does that cost exactly?
The Comic Maker Starter Kit is totally free. You just have to join the mailing list, and I guess I could. Absolutely, I don't know. I could go to the banners, but you guys know where to find it. It's just circworks.com. So I did that, and then I started building, a larger version of that. That was a paid version. called the Comic Maker Toolkit, and that did really well. I mean, I've sold thousands of them, which sounds really impressive, which in a way it is, but some of them were part of bundles. So some of those I may have got 50 cents per sale or something like that. If I would have sold 1,000 all from my website, I would have been very happy. But still, I mean, it's that many people are out, and the bundles that I was involved with, like the big bundle that probably sold the most, mine was sort of the flagship product. I mean, when they advertise those, you know, they usually put the kind of the more impressive pieces up front, and mine was like the main piece that they used to sell that, or to market that bundle, which was kind of cool. So I have to assume that I drove quite a few of the sales for that, hopefully. So yeah, that was really cool, and continues to sell and everything. And then I launched a font pack after that, which didn't do as good. So, you know, it's some of that stuff's kind of hit or miss, but the goal is, you know, just keep putting out these products and everything. And I've got some really cool ideas for some other products that I want to start putting out. And again, that'll all tie into comics and tie into the series that I've been working on, which that's part of what I've been, you know, part of 2019 was building this new Making Comics 101 series, which no one will see that until next year, but I have been working on it. And I know when Corey was talking about, you know, all the editing on that video, I can sympathize, because this is probably the most heavily edited video like anything I've ever done on YouTube. There's a lot involved with that, just the amount of cuts and everything, and like B-roll and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully that'll be a worthy investment. I think people are going to dig that. Yeah. So what else?
Well, I mean, I would tack in there, like, you designed a custom font, I think probably for the first time, right?
Yeah, well, since then, yeah, I've done quite a few, because I think the starter kit had, I think it had two fonts or two fonts and some like variations, like a bold and a, you know,
Yeah.
or maybe it was three. I think it was three fonts, and then two of those are included in the Comic Maker Toolkit, along with, I think, I don't know, another 2 or 3 more fonts or whatever. So, I mean, I don't know, twice as many. So yeah, that, and then I launched a font pack called Jeepers Creepers, which is sort of a Halloween kind of style, funky, you know, kind of font for, you know, that I launched. Just today I completed another one called Freezer Burn, which is sort of your typical, you know, not typical. I mean, I think it's got some style to it and everything, but sound effects for comics. One is sort of like an icy looking font. The other one is sort of, you know, a fiery looking font. So that I'm going to launch very soon, but that's complete. So yeah, I've been doing quite a few fonts. So that's been something that's kind of cool. Along with all the other stuff that I did. Yeah, so and I was thinking of some milestones and things that we probably hit this year. I know I hit 10,000 followers on YouTube. And also we got 200 episodes of the Artcasters under our belt now. So, and I'm hearing a weird sound effect. I don't know if that's somebody doing something, or if that's my headphones, or
you're crackling quite a bit. I don't know.
Oh, is that me? I wonder if it's I don't know why it's doing that. Huh.
Try unplugging your mic and plugging it back in.
All right.
And well, shoot.
Are you still hearing it? Or...
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hearing some weirdness.
Okay, I was hearing it even though my mic was unplugged, so I don't think it's my mic. I don't know.
Man.
I don't know if it could be a streaming thing or something, but I don't know. We can push through it.
I get that. I get that sometimes if there's a power cord that's close to any of the audio cables, or there's a power cord that's laying near the USB cables.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but another thing that I wanted to touch on, we'll just have to deal with this crazy audio issue. But was one of the things that I did, like I mentioned before, there are definitely some ups and downs. There was a lot of ups for me, but there were some downs. Personally, like I broke up with my girlfriend for like, that we were dating for like, 8 years. But because of that, I decided, after that happened, I decided, I need to focus more on myself. And in doing so, I got back in shape, or I lost 20 pounds. I started working out and dieting and everything like that, started running. And then, just other self-improvement things that I wanted to do. Like I wanted to start, getting out and, going to design conferences. So Corey and I, we met up at Creative South. So that was a cool thing, because I had met Corey once before in person. He when he was coming to adopt his son, he kind of took a few hours and came down and visited me and everything. But it was kind of a short amount of time. So we did get to go. We went out to Georgia. We got to hang out, and that was a really cool experience. I don't know. Are you planning on going back, Corey?
Yeah, because my employer's paying for it, I have to wait for the fiscal year to reset before.
Okay. Yeah. So.
And we have a new person approving things, but my plan is to go if I can.
Okay.
So that was great. That was phenomenal. I mean, I would call that. I don't know if it's an accomplishment. It was something that we both did this year that I enjoyed, and I've had met awesome people. For me, socially, that was a bit of a stretch, a bit of a challenge, because my imposter syndrome kind of goes into hyperdrive when I'm around other people that do what I do. And so, like in the past, I've been the creative guy amongst accountants. Most of my career, I was the lone wolf creative, and everybody else were like business, whatever. And so I would go to those type of conferences. And so it's not like anybody else knows what they're talking about in what I do. But you go to that conference, and everybody there is better than I am. And it was great, though. I had a great experience, and I really felt like I learned, like, I don't know. It was just another argument against my imposter syndrome. The evil voice in my head telling me that I suck at everything is not accurate. And it was really nice to be around Scott and watch him interact in that environment. And then I met super cool people that I'm still in touch with. And if I could ever get a free minute, I'm going to have some of them on Illo Talk, which I haven't done in a long time. But I loved that conference. Was great. And I loved it. It was good. I've been to Adobe Max 3 times, and a bunch of other conferences that get further and further away from like my core competencies. But I really enjoyed that because it felt like this feels more like home, more like where I belong. So I like that conference a lot.
Yeah. I'm still looking forward, because now, like, since then, like everyone in my mastermind group will probably be there, and since then I've made connections with other people. So it's just going to be, it's like there's not going to be, how am I going to have time to talk to all these people and hang out with all these people? So it's going to be cool. But and it's also going to be the 10th anniversary. So they're going to bring back all the big big hitters, which Aaron Drappen will be there, which I've kind of already seen it at one of his workshops, but and just so, but the whole conference is going to be really cool. And I did other conference, I did the local, Phoenix Design Week. I did that and everything. And again, met some people. I exhibited there. I had a table there and everything. So that was, really cool. Something I did. I've been doing a lot of these signings at the comic store. So, but, one of the things I really need to do, just because where I am at socially, because now that I, don't have much of a social life, I got to go out and do that. So I'm going to really try to reach out to some people, maybe get some, and that's one of those things I always talk about doing, but I'm really going to do it this year. I'm going to try to make that a priority, because anytime I do that, I just feel I do need that in my life, because otherwise I just sit here and work and by myself and just shut myself in and everything. But to that end, one of the other things that I did, because of all the stuff that went down in my personal life, is I just decided to take a vacation just myself. And I went down to Disneyland, and I actually got to stay with Josh and his wife for a night, and we got to draw. We did the Artcasters there, so it's been really cool because I've got to see both of you guys in person the last year. So that was really cool, and that's definitely something I'm hoping I can get down there again sometime next year. Yeah, because I went before the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge was open, so I definitely want to go check that out. So I might have to do that again. But yeah, it's been quite a year. There's just been a lot of stuff going on. I don't know, Josh, you've been a little silent, but I know you had a major accomplishment, something you've been working on forever that you've scratched off your list. So how does that feel?
Yeah, so like I've been working on quarterly stories for about 5 years now, and I finished this is like the last interior page other than like the about the author page. So I should be done with this in a couple months, and that's pretty exciting. That's like a huge milestone, because this has been definitely like going at like a slug-like pace, and I feel like I keep relearning this lesson at every time I do stuff, but I usually am very slow and meticulous with things. But by being persistent with it, I end up accomplishing a lot more than a lot of people I know who are like really fast and persistent, but like fast and quick. Because it's like there's something to be said for just showing up and carving away at a dream project, and what ends up happening is you actually end up finishing. That's kind of cool. So I'm feeling encouraged about that, because I'm a little intimidated actually being this close to done, but I'm trying to just kind of keep the same mentality of like, I'll have to work on this every night, and then like when I have an author page, I'll work on that. When I have to get quotes, I'll work on that. But yeah, that's a huge thing that got done this year, and I feel good about it's been an interesting year. Like I redid my website, prompted by you guys in Squarespace. I redid my branding, as we mentioned, like the anthology. But mainly, what I've been doing all year is, other than freelance, like a lot of freelance for clients and stuff like that, and then my day job, is just carving away at this thing. And so it's kind of neat to see it start getting there. And just when I was starting to feel good about it, I got the new Chris Ware book. He just put out Rusty Brown, which is like 370 pages long, and it's like full color. And so now I feel way less accomplished because I read it over the break, but I also feel really encouraged and excited about the comics medium, because if anybody out there is like a fan of comics, those books are worth reading. Read Building Stories, Jimmy Corrigan, Smartest Kid on Earth, and this new one, Rusty Brown. Worth it.
I'm very ashamed of myself for not discovering Chris Ware earlier, until you kind of finally introduced me and got me to read Jimmy Corrigan. And I mean, it's a masterwork. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. And just knowing the process, because if you ask me, I would say, oh, that was all like, it's so perfect. It was like, that's all like digital, and with like, and it's all, everything's hand done. And it's just like,
yeah, it's absurd.
Nothing's duplicated. I mean, he's got characters that look identical. Like if you were going to do a character purposefully in the same position across 4 panels, if it was me, I would copy it and paste it, but you'll redraw the whole thing. It's and just it was just like, it's crazy the amount of work that he puts into that.
Yeah, and I don't think there are that many people alive like putting stuff out to that level. And this new one, like it's here. I'll just give a little sneak peek.
Yeah.
He pulls no punches, so it's like beautiful French paper.
Yeah.
Somehow they managed to charge like $30 for this. I don't know how.
Really?
Cloth bound, just, and then like, just typical kind of amazing Chris Ware pages.
All right.
Yeah, so
All right.
I highly recommend it. It'll take like a day to read the cover, but it's great. Well worth it. Yeah, Rusty Brown, go buy it. But yeah, so other than that, just like let me see, on a kind of personal level, I've been doing the music more, and so we've tracked the majority of our demo, which is now going to be an EP because it's just starting to sound that good. So we're now at the stage of like mixing, and then once we're done with the mix, then mastering, and like very much like this comic, I think this thing happens. I don't know. I think at my age, with like a full-time job, as an art director, which is a pretty taxing job, and usually it's not just 8 hours a day. And then that compiled with just being a parent and being a husband and all that fun stuff, it's like you really don't have a lot of time. And I know you guys relate because we're all kind of in similar boats. And so there's something really cool about like having these creative visions, like, oh, I want to have an album by the time I'm 40 kind of thing. And I'm going to have that recorded and mastered by then. Same thing, graphic novel. I'm going to be done. And these things take a long time. Like even the recording thing, like when I was 18, I could track a demo with the band in like a week. We'd just spend the whole week, like 24-hour days and just knock it out. But it's like, it's interesting to me to see that it's still possible to kind of achieve like bigger things by just kind of being persistent. So I feel like this year has been a lot of that and a lot of growth in just leadership and stuff. Like on a personal level, like at my job, I've gotten better as a manager, and that's kind of a weird thing because the whole managing people thing is a whole challenge, like dealing with other personalities and interdepartmental politics and all of that kind of stuff. And I feel like I get better at it every year. And this year is definitely like one of those ones where it's like there's a million curveballs, but I feel like I'm getting better at that. Yeah, and then just modding guitars for the first time was fun too. So that's a nerdy thing, but I managed to like take apart a guitar and like, put in like completely new pots and like wiring and stuff, and like it worked. It didn't electrocute me, so apparently I got the grounding on it right. But yeah, I don't know. It's been a growth year, I think, in the sense of just I don't feel like I had any like big wins. I just feel like I've had gradual progress that's starting to actually finish, which is kind of my style. So I don't know.
I don't know. I think finishing the comic a pretty big win, even though, like you said, it was, it took a long time to get to that point. So, but you also reached that goal, and also in the meantime, fit another 4-page comic in between. So,
yeah, and I'd like to do, like, when I'm done with this, once I've kickstarted it and stuff like that, I do want to do a project that's like a short win of some kind.
Yeah.
So I'll have to strategize with you guys about that for next year. But I do think I'm going to need something that's like a quick win. Yeah.
Sticker stamp.
Ooh, I like it.
That was another thing I did again this year. Was I did a sticker stamp. That was fun, and so I was looking through, and this time a big group of people jumped in with me. Some of them were in the chat, and that was really cool. I liked doing that. And sticker stamp, for those of you who don't know, is just something I made up. You just finish something you finish a sticker design or illustration every day for a certain time period. this year I did 2 weeks. Last year I did a month, and then at the end of the year I did 2 weeks. But it's a great way to get a lot of fast stuff out and kind of flex those muscles. I really feel like this year I'm kind of coming into a pace that makes sense for me. I don't have the stamina that Josh has to labor away at something for 5 years. Maybe someday, but what I've noticed is if I pace out like a longer project and then I knock out a bunch of tiny projects and then I do another longer project, I'm actually pretty productive consistently without burning out.
Yeah.
And so like the stick for me is kind of like this palate cleansing that I do in between kind of longer projects. It's been great. So that was another thing that I really liked about this year. So and I've been teasing Josh because for those of you that don't know, I don't know who wouldn't know this, but Josh, you started at t-shirts, and that is more complicated than a sticker for certain, but it was a similar pace where you're putting out frequent designs because that was your living, was to do that. And so starting and finishing, I'm just fascinated to see what Joshua Kimball would do with the sticker stamp, because it's just, you get a ton of ideas out really fast in a short period of time. It's just a fun project.
I like it. I think we should do each other's challenge, and you should make your full story, C story, and then I'll work on a sticker soon.
Okay, you do a month-long thing, and I'll spend the next 5 years of my life. That sounds equal.
That sounds like a good trade. So I know this isn't art related, but I feel like this has been an interesting thing. So I canvassed for the first time for a political campaign, and I'm not even going to mention the campaign or the political leanings of it because I don't want to get into like some political discussion. But it's been a year of me like getting really infuriated about things in politics, and then getting an occasional like Facebook arguments. And I'm not like usually a very political Facebook argument type guy. But it's just been one of those years, and I realized, like, what am I doing about it? Like, am I doing anything active about what I'm bothered by politically, or am I just being passive? And I realized, like, I've contributed money to campaigns and stuff like that, but I've never actually like gone out and like knocked on doors and stuff like that. So the last month or so, I've been doing that, and it's crazy. We went to like one of the worst parts of my city, and I was like knocking on doors, and I had a couple people, really scary people, honestly, tell me like, yeah, you got my vote, because like no politician's ever had the guts to come into this neighborhood before.
Yeah.
And like, so it's, to me, I think that might be something that I can forecast. Like in the next year, I think I'm going to try to be more politically involved, but not at the cost of my family or anything like that. But if it's like a matter of like donating my time, like 2 hours a week or something, for something like that. And maybe if it's not a political thing, maybe it's like helping the homeless or something like that. Like I want to do more activism, and I don't mean like blind activism. I mean activism that I know has some kind of impact, and thoughtful activism. So I'm not just like blindly going out like throwing bottles or something. Like I want to actually make a positive impact, and that's been an interesting growth thing for me this year, because that's literally a first for me. Like I've done protests in the past, way long ago, and I've done like political contributions, but I've never actually done the work, which is really interesting. So that's been I know it's nerdy and weird to mention, but I feel like that will eventually affect my art, because it's just like it's encouraging, because you feel like you're actually doing something, at least for me, it's like I feel like less frustrated about politics because I'm like, well, I'm actually doing something. So, I don't know. Anyway, total rant, but
Yeah.
to me,
As far as as far as not art related, there are a couple things. I'll go into some couple things that are art related and some questions or aren't art related and some questions that are and aren't that are in the chat. But
I love it.
so as far as not art related, just recently, if you've been following, you know, I was doing some like home improvements and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's another one of those things that I put off for a very long time. And it was just a matter of, it was a good, you know, couple weeks. I kind of remodeled not my whole kitchen, because I mean, it was basically I redid the cabinets and everything. And just, I also built like I don't know, I put in some crown molding and stuff like that. All that kind of stuff. So and I'm really happy with the way it looks. I put some lights, you know, under the counter lights and all that kind of stuff. And it's just kind of one of those things where, you know, whenever I walk in there, I'm like, oh man, this looks so much better. It's just like one of those things I've been wanting to do for a while. And the fact that I did it myself, because, you know, a lot of the stuff that I've done in my house, because home improvements are like super expensive. So, I mean, a lot of them I've done myself. So, and it's kind of, I don't know, I just feel, you know, I'm proud of the house, you know, that I have, because it's like most of it is just stuff that I did to it and everything. So, so did that, painted my patio and everything. So, it's nice to kind of get some of that stuff, you know, kind of off my checklist, because that just means that I have now that's not kind of hovering over me as something that I got to get to. That now I can spend some more time on art. So that's kind of non-art related, but a pretty big accomplishment for me, something, because that was one of the last things I think I really needed to tackle on my house that really needed work. So there was that. And then and the other, there's a question, Tom Kern says, and I don't know if he's asking us or people in the chat, but do you draw with paper, pencil, or do you use a tablet? And that sort of leads me to, you know, I recently, this year, something I forgot about, that I did purchase an iPad Pro. And despite my frustrations with some of the things Apple does, like making it impossible if you're on a PC to transfer files or do certain things like that, or especially video. And Corey knows what I'm talking about, because he's kind of the same situation. But I really do like drawing on it.
It's so stupid.
Yeah.
It is ridiculously dumb.
Yeah. I mean, there's some, and it's the fact that, I mean, there's stuff I want to do, like on Instagram and you know, and create videos, and it's just almost impossible for me to get those files either on my tablet or my iPhone, so that I can upload to Instagram, video files or you know, just different things like that. So it's really frustrating. But that aside, I really do enjoy drawing on it, sketching on it in particular. I don't do anything real crazy, but it is a really good opportunity for me to take something mobile digitally and sketch wherever I go. I bought it basically when we went to Creative South, because I wanted something to work on in the plane. And since then, it's came in handy when I was kind of chauffeuring my son around before he got his license and everything, and just kind of waiting for him while he was at school, going to the coffee shop and sketching and doing all that stuff. So yeah, lately I've been doing a lot more digital stuff. I've always done digital stuff at home, but it's still, you know, I still do a fair amount. It just depends. I still love drawing on paper, but am getting more into the digital thing. So as far as, you know, art related, there's that. There's another question. I'll just ask it because it's kind of a fun. I think he was asking people in the chat, but how many days do you go to McDonald's or Jack in the Box? Or am I allowed to ask that type of question? So yeah, you can ask. We may not answer all those, but to be honest, I don't think I've been to a McDonald's or a Jack in the Box in 6-7 years, maybe. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of McDonald's in particular, but I don't really go to a lot of fast food, but I did go to, was it a week or a week before, I did go to In-N-Out. I don't know about you guys. Do you guys do any of the fast food?
I love fast food.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say I probably do it too much, and I wish I could answer the same about McDonald's, but there's like there's not a lot of like good parks in where we live, and there's a play area at McDonald's that's like a cesspool for disease, but my son really likes playing in it. So
It's different when you have kids, because when I had kids, or well, I still have kids, but whenever my kids were younger, it was the Burger King with the play place and McDonald or whatever. I mean, it was also this Happy Meal toys that drew them in, that they wanted to get the toys. And I mean, I can't believe I was just, how often I went to fast food back then. It was crazy, but yeah.
Yeah, and like, although I do think that ties into something I think we've all been working on, which is, that's not art related, but is art related because our health is art related, right?
Yeah.
Because if we don't have our minds or our physical strength, like we aren't really going to be very effective, like doing late nights doing art, And this year, I think, has been the most successful year I've had in my lifetime, like in the sense of just actually having a habit of working out and staying consistent with it, and then upping the ante a little bit to where I'm starting to see some, like I'm actually starting to see some results, and I'm like, oh, this is weird. I have a few muscles. That's really strange, But that's been really cool, and so and I know we've all been kind of trying to kind of be more physically in shape and stuff, and I feel like am I overreaching by saying like I think we've all done pretty well at that this year?
Yeah, I got to get back, because I mean, I did gain some weight after obviously the Christmas thing and everything, but and
Yeah, but Christmas.
I'm going to go to a New Year's party. So, but I did, and part of the problem is because it's been the weather, it's been running. I haven't been able to go jogging. Did I say running? Because it's been raining, I haven't been able to go jogging. So,
the weather's been running, so you need to start raining.
Yeah. But I'll get back to that. But I have, I've been working out on like the rowing machine and some of the like dumbbells and things like that. But so I've got this what do you call it, a Bowflex machine that my dad gave me because he bought it and never used it. So I've got this big thing sitting in my room. At first I couldn't do it. I've started reading all the instructions so that I could work out on it. And then I go to do some of the exercises and realized that the bench wasn't there. So I built a bench for it. And then, so it was sitting there for a little while. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start working on that machine. And so I started looking at the exercises again. I go and I setting up the pulleys and everything. And then I realized that the hand grips were missing too. So then I ordered some new ones off of Amazon, and I got those. So hopefully nothing's going to stop me. So I need to hopefully this weekend I'll start working on that, because I need to like do some ab work and stuff. Which I guess I could do some sit-ups and stuff, but I've just been doing mostly the rowing machine and some the dumbbells and everything, which doesn't really work out everything. So. But yeah, so I mean that it's a nice feeling, and I mean it gives you some energy and stuff, and you don't always feel so tired, and it's kind of a good feeling to get in a little better shape, and I think we've all been working on that. So that's all good. I don't know. We're at an hour and a half. What else haven't we talked about? What have we touched on that you guys some accomplishments of 2019?
I adopted my son.
Oh yeah. Well, that's
a huge one.
So you get.
Yeah. So he's oh wait, no, I didn't. No, he's 18 months old. Never mind.
Okay.
Yeah, that was last year, but
you've been raising your son. I'm sure that's been a lot of challenges and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's been an interesting ride. Yeah, so there's been some fun things with that, but yeah, never mind. That was last year.
But you have maintained making art with a child.
Yeah.
At this point, 18 months, and that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's an accomplishment that I didn't give up, I guess.
So back to go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to open my Steam account and and see how many hours I've played in video games this year. But I'll have to report on that when I get back. But I don't know that that's really an accomplishment as much as a stress relief and mostly massive distraction. But I think that would be pretty staggering numbers. So, anyway.
I was just going to go back to the Ronnie had made a comment about he loves Jack in the Box. He gets to get it when he travels home every year. And I don't know, just maybe because I live where I do. I just assumed Jack in the Box was all over the United States. I didn't know it was only in certain areas, but apparently not.
Yeah. However, I do want to rub this in for anybody who's not in California or Arizona. In-N-Out Burger is excellent.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, or Corey's not the biggest fan, but there's
I like it. It's a good burger. I'm not an In-N-Out cultist.
But Corey, is this just you doing survival tactics because you have no In-N-Out near you? Is this like have you convinced yourself it's not that great because you're like,
I don't have anything near me. I live in the middle of nowhere. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, I would say if I were given the option between like a smash burger and an In-N-Out or something, it's not even a contest. There's so many that it's fine. It's an okay burger, but that's it's not bad. It's not a bad place. I don't dislike it.
Heresy. Heresy. My accountability buddy is committing heresy.
I think Josh might get it even a little more than me. I mean, I think as far as like the fast food goes, I think it's one of the better burgers. But I mean, I've never been to Smash Burger, but isn't that more of a like a sit-down place, or is that like a fast food place too? Because I know there's also Five Guys that does good burgers, but there's also a price difference. In-N-Out is like, as far as like super cheap and super good, I mean, I can't really beat In-N-Out. But I mean, I would much rather have like a nice homemade burger like that I make myself than any fast food burger. So,
I heartily disagree. I think In-N-Out.
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't think it's that good. I don't think it's as good as a nice, good homemade burger. But
so here's the thing: I don't eat there that often, but I'm just saying when I lived in Oregon, I didn't realize how much I loved In-N-Out until I had no option to go to In-N-Out. It was like a year, and I was like, I really want an In-N-Out burger. And then it's like the next year, I was like, almost every week, like, I really want an In-N-Out burger. And then I'd meet people from California, and they'd be like, you know what I really miss is In-N-Out burger. I've heard they have some chains up there though now, so I don't know.
There's a lot of these burger places. Like, I don't know if you guys have Culver's where you are. That one's pretty good as far as a fast food burger. That one's a good one. And then we've got another one. I don't think I've ever eaten there, but there's one called Freddy's that pops up. It seems like all these, there's a bunch of these fast food places, burger places popping up. So, but I don't go out to eat that often. I really make my meals at home every once in a while. I'll go out, but anyway, kind of getting a little off track, but
I like it though.
We can mix it up a bit.
Cool. Yeah, I don't really. I mean, I would say like, yeah, just I think I mentioned the modding guitars thing, but that has little to do with anything. I beat Final Fantasy 1 again. That was pretty epic this year.
Yeah, I haven't done any movies or anything. I got the Disney Plus. I watched Mandalorian. Besides that, but we won't get off on that right now. We can maybe talk about that after. But.
Oh, that's right. We have another thing that's Star Wars related. We might want to talk about.
Too. Yeah, we can talk about that, but we'll probably do that after the show.
Oh, fair, yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, it sounds like really, I think we've all accomplished quite a bit. Like I said before, I'm just kind of hoping that I can kind of continue doing what I'm doing because I'm just kind of having a blast with the amount I'm able to accomplish doing, the full freelance full time and keep doing that and everything. And so hopefully that'll be the case, but we'll find out more moving in because every year you've got new challenges and things like that, but there's just so much I want to talk about and, maybe we'll leave it at there and then maybe we can even come back and we can talk about some of our goals for the next year and everything. But yeah, I mean, I think overall, you know, I mean, obviously I've had some major personal things that kind of suck, but as far as professional and everything, it's been a really good year for me. So Corey looks like he's moving around, making the rounds. And then oh, he probably can't hear us because he doesn't have his headphones on, or he didn't have his headphones on the whole time.
No, I can. I'm just changing rooms because people moved.
Okay, we're probably about to wrap up the live part, but we got to figure out what that noise is too. So I don't know. Is there anything you guys want to say before we wrap up?
Yeah.
Just, you know, one huge accomplishment this year is our crew of people has kind of grown a little bit, and yet we have these awesome people who show up in our chats every year. And so thanks to everybody who actually shows up and participates. It makes it a lot of fun. That's kind of my last addition. Corey?
Yeah, and hopefully all you guys in the chat, hopefully you accomplish a lot, and hopefully we can accomplish a lot more in 2020. Anything you wanted to add, Corey?
I was going to say, I'm super interested in the comments of this video. I'd like to know what everybody. So leave as you guys are watching this, you know, tomorrow or whenever you watch it, because we got a bunch of people in the chats, but more people will watch us later. Leave in the comments what you've done and where we can find it.
Yeah, will the comments still go, or would they have to leave a comment in the comment section? If like after we go off, will the comments still show up?
I'm talking about the comment of the video, not the chat.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Definitely leave comments. And I see a lot of people showing up. You got Chris McQuinlan in there. How's it going, Chris? It's been a while. I'll have to get you back on the show if things work out at some point. And then we're at different times and everything. But yeah, okay. So that was our 2019, and we're looking forward to 2020, and hopefully you guys will be there along on the ride with us. And we're anxious to see what you guys accomplish. But yeah, we'll end the broadcast, and we'll be back hopefully next week on Josh's show. Oh, I forgot the whole I forgot the whole thing. So we got to go around again. Okay, so here we go. Josh, let's see. Where can everyone find you, Josh?
So you can find me by going to quarterlystories.com, and that'll take you to my comic about faith and mental illness that I handwrite, hand letter, and hand ink and hand to you, hopefully someday in print. That day should be pretty soon. But until that day, it's available there for your reading enjoyment. And you can also just check out my art at joshuakemble.com, and you can also search for me on YouTube for Joshua Kemble with a K. And yeah, you can subscribe to my channel there. And other than that, you can catch me on Corey and Scott's channel every once in a while, because on either the Art Check or 48-hour Art Check. So yeah.
And what about you, Corey?
On Artcasters.
Where can everyone find you?
You can find me at CoreyKerr.com. And I'm on Instagram and Twitter and YouTube as well. It was interesting. I went through my Instagram kind of to prep for the show. So if you're curious, hit up my Instagram. You can see what I've done this year, because there's I try to post there pretty often. Yeah, those are the three main spots, all of which you can find by going to CoreyKerr.com and just clicking on the link there. Yeah,
and as far as me, there's not much current on my Instagram. The most current thing is my Inktober run. I had an idea for like a cool Inktober, a cool thing I was going to do for just to kind of get my Instagram back going again. And now I found somebody else was kind of doing something similar. So I'm like, I'm kind of bummed about that, but I might talk to you guys about that and see, maybe we can come up with an idea or something. But anyway, so not so much on Instagram, but you can find me at swordworks.com, where you can download the Comic Maker Starter Kit, or if you just want to go for the big, pull out all the stops, you can get the Comic Maker Toolkit. That is for sale there. Comic Maker Starter Kit's free. Just join the mailing list, you get that. But speaking of mailing list, we have a mailing list for the Artcasters, and we don't spam you or anything like that. But because this channel kind of flips back and forth from Josh's channel, this show goes back and forth between Josh's channel and my channel, sometimes at a different time or whatever. If you want to know exactly we're gonna go live and everything, because YouTube's not always the best at letting people know, just join our mailing list, and usually about 30 minutes ahead of time we will send out an invite, or not an invite, but a notification as far as where we're going to be, and you can click on that, and you can join us and get involved in the chat and everything. So yeah, definitely check that out. There's a link to that in the description of this video. And again, leave comments. Let us know what you guys kind of accomplished in 2019, and maybe what you're planning to do in 2020. And yeah, other than that, we will see you guys next week, hopefully. Later.
Bye.
Yeah.